everyone need an agenda? Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody, to our Fire and Grips meeting. We're going to go ahead and go around the table again, like we always do, with some brief introductions. So, Kristen, you want to start, and we'll go around.
Yeah, you don't get to start. It's so cool. Kristen Mortensen, I think everybody knows me. Community preparedness, fire prevention specialist with the DNRC out of Missoula.
Rick Donovan, Hamilton resident. I'm here representing the California refugees here in Montana. And, I know it's an important constituency for everybody here. I work for the University of California, Irvine, and work out of my basement up in Hamilton.
Everyone knows me, Anna Bateson, Bitter National Forest, Fire Prevention.
Judy Anderson, private landowner.
Nate Decker, prevention, Bitter National.
Renee Gall, Big Fire.
Mike Camp, Everett Valley Board of Realtors.
And Sam Lambie, I do work for the Forest Service, but I'm here listening. We have a house up on the hill, so, and I'm a West Virginia transplant, not California, so.
Eric Hoover, Ravalli County Emergency Management. Jeff Robert, Ravalli County OEM.
Ryan Adams, Hamilton Fire. Mark Wilson, International Forest Fire Management. West Virginia is way up, California is out there.
Fire Bonnie, Bitter RC&D.
Matt Young, International Forest.
Frank Helfrich, private landowner and representative of the Group Climate Action Group, both.
Laura Jackson, same two, private landowner.
I'm Dayton Davis, with Valley County Right to Farm and Ranch Board.
Al Bailey, Valley County Right to Farm and Ranch.
Andrew Emron, County Forester.
All right, anybody online, Kristen?
No.
All right. And then I'm Kimberly, MSU Extension Facilitator. So we're going to go ahead and get started here with a CWPP update and our council role and what that's going to look like. And we have that coming from Drew and Kristen.
Take it away.
Yes.
So not a whole lot to report quite yet. We're still kind of in a holding pattern with the DNRC. We're waiting on this sub agreement that's going to be passed over from them. Once they get that squared away, the commissioners sign it, then we can start soliciting bids from contractors. So right now, not a whole lot happening. I've spoken with a few contractors from a list that we got from DNRC. So basically just in the beginning stages. Once we do get the award officially, it'll be about 4 to 6 weeks once the county starts our process of that solicitation through the legal process, putting everything through the paper, sending it out to contractors who we do select to send that out to. So right now, just kind of bear with us while we move through the process. Once we get that contractor to come on, they're going to be obviously integral in moving this forward. So until that happens, we're kind of just waiting. So
Yeah, and I just wanted to speak on the role of the council in the CWPP process because it will be changing a little bit. When we initially kind of started pushing this, we were thinking we were going to drive it. We were ready to drive that process. And I think it's really good that the county would really like to take ownership in this process and be more in the driver's seat. So it's a good thing, and the county should. Like, it is what the county should be driving this. And so with that decision, though, where they would like to drive it, they would love for Drew to be the point person on that. We then move back and be that supportive role. We're definitely involved in it. And we will have our fingers in, especially because Drew is extremely committed to collaboration. And so he gets what is CWPP, he gets that the basis is collaboration. So we will definitely be a part of it. We won't be driving it. The CWPP is also a process. So it's a bunch of steps that are taken. And so we're gonna be pulled in along the way as we can be applied and used. Core team, the whole council will probably not form the core team, but many of us will probably be on that core team. And like public meetings, outreach, we will support as much as possible and be a part of that, and definitely get the word out and help with getting the information out countywide. And that's a strength of ours, definitely. So we're not gonna be decision makers in the process, but we will be supportive and in that supportive role. Are there any questions on this or concerns? Yes.
What if we want to be more involved and on the decision-making side?
Well,
Rather than just receiving and disseminating.
well, we will have input. Like the idea of a CWPP is that everybody has input. It isn't that everybody gets to be a decision maker, because no decisions would probably be made, right? If every resident was a decision maker, no decision would eventually be made, but everybody has input. So you, whether you're a council member or a member of the public, will have input. And it's Drew and the county's job and our job to help support that we make sure that voices are heard, that we do outreach throughout the county so that we hear everybody's voices, not just select ones, okay? So you'll definitely have input, but it is not something that we all can demand to be on the core team, because that is inefficient and that isn't, it's not how it is run, but the core team should be representative of the major stakeholders in the process. And so ideally, your views, one, you'll have that input, but there should be on that core team somebody that does represent your, as a stakeholder, what you feel is important. But that is not a decision we also can make. We cannot demand what that core team looks like. The county can set that up. All that is required by law is that technically the core team needs to be collaborative, but that all the signers, so all the fire departments and the county commissioners, the state forestry fire representative, and the federal government entities in fire, they are the ones that are required by law to be on that core team. So to go beyond that is a choice, but we're fairly comfortable that they will choose to expand beyond that. Drew's been pretty, like,
We're gonna try to keep it as transparent as possible.
mhm.
I mean, ultimately, there should be, as much as I understand, there will be public comment periods for sure. So everybody that's represented in the county or on the council, the county isn't just gonna take it and completely make it their own. At least that's my views of it. So there will be opportunities moving forward, and that's why we're getting a facilitator to help set up these meetings so that everybody has a voice, everybody can voice their concerns. The core team is just gonna drive the document moving forward. Because if we allow for too much noise in this process, I feel that we could get bogged down. There's a lot of people that are relying on this to be pushed through. And the way I work is I like to get things done. So I try to, I want to work as hard as possible so that everybody sees this get done within, respective time frame.
Is it all three county commissioners on the core or just one representative from county commissioners?
I mean, Jeff Burrows is gonna be working a lot. He's on Hamilton Fire. And I've already had conversations with him. I've been speaking with Jeff and Eric Hoover as well. We're all gonna be kind of working with that, working with Jeff specifically. I think the other two commissioners have to sign off as well. Dan Holes is the chairman. So basically, he's gotta be the final signature. But Jeff Burrows is gonna be very important too.
What's the status of the RFP that will go out to the contractors to bid on that?
So it's all in the development stage, basically. So I personally don't really know what that looks like. I have examples from the DNRC when they put out their request for information. We're gonna take a lot of that, kind of duplicate that and send that out. I'm learning as I'm going too. So if there's input, and I can reach out to folks too, that have, especially yourself, that have done a lot of that kind of work. I mean, we can definitely.
That's gonna be completed by the time you get the award and the agreement with DNRC?
We're hoping so. I mean, I would like it to be. I mean, that's why I'm kind of already starting the process, talking to contractors, feeling out what that's gonna look like. They were hoping by the end of November that it would be signed by both parties. Ultimately, it's gonna be up to the commissioners on what is in that document, and I urge Julie Berkey to put language in that document that expresses exactly what we're talking about right now. That it needs to be collaborative, the commissioners are they're gonna be on board. And I think they're just kind of letting me run with it. And like I said, I'm all kind of new to it too, so, you know, just. Take it.
Go ahead.
Hey, one quick question. I definitely don't want to blow things down, but a quick question in that, is there a CWPP already in place or not?
Yes.
There is.
And what ramifications or any influence on this one at all?
So it will. So Byron Bonnie was he basically took the main role in that. So I'm obviously gonna be reaching out to him a lot. We're gonna pull quite a bit from that, I think, but as CWPPs over the last 10 years have advanced, there's a lot more to it than there used to be back then.
Yeah, this is not a new CWPP. It's if there's already one in place, you update it. So that's why this is a CWPP update. So we're taking that one and we're updating it.
Thanks.
So basically, if I'm understanding correctly, in terms of helping to guide what CWPP might include, I will have as much input as a member of the public as I will sitting here.
Well, yes.
I mean, in other words, I guess what I'm saying is, I joined, the commit, the FERC, because I want to have input on that document. More than just after the fact, yes or but, after the fact.
Right.
And if I'm understanding it correctly, I could skip these meetings basically, because it's not going to in any way give me more input than
Well,
I would have
no.
just as a member of the public.
We can't guarantee that though. You could,
Because there will be no member of the public.
no.
on that committee? Is
No,
that true?
no. It's that we don't decide who is on the core team. So ideally, you
We-
bet there
we-
should be,
you- And when you're saying we.
when I'm saying, the council is not driving this. We are not in a decision maker role in any way of this. The county has taken the reins. They have every right to. They are receiving the money, right?
Talk to
Yeah,
the county, not
so-
here.
Yes, and ideally, like, that's where, yes, that's a great idea, is to say, I would love to be part of this process. More than just providing input, because if they hear it, and they are, Drew's listening to you right now, and we will translate that. It definitely will help, hopefully push them further into, yes, let's make this a very diverse and collaborative core team. And make sure that we're really reaching out and getting representation from all aspects of stakeholders. So your desire should be voiced, definitely, but it isn't like we can't demand to be on the core team. We can't demand to be in a decision-making role. Let's hope that the county is committed to that collaboration and representation. And that you definitely could be on there. It's some of the best CWPPs have a very diverse core team, and residents are critical to that. As well as, you know, other organizations that represent the varied interests that are impacted by wildfire. So, yeah. Again, we just can't promise, because we're not in that decision making. Yeah.
I think it could, in a way, give you a couple of voices at the team. I'm sure the county commissioners are gonna take advice from this council as a group. Absolutely. And put a lot of strength in that advice because of this diversity in this group of being everything from citizens to agency folks to fire department members, you name it.
California refugees.
Just don't say it.
So I think the commissioners are going to obviously take input from this council as a whole. And then you also then can have input as a private citizen also separate in the process, if that makes sense. So I don't want to say you should stay if you don't want to, but I think this council will carry some weight advising the commissioners on the developments.
Yeah, good point.
And I think the most important part to remember too is that the county is now willing to take that, whereas before it was kind of a push away from it with the update of 2016 or whenever that one failed. You know, to have our commission buy into this point to say, yes, the county is gonna be that main player, I think is super important, because they do have the power within the county to be able to give this group through Andrew they're gonna have, you know, this say on it and do specific things where, you know, we may do things within this council where that's very valuable, but there may be even another piece as a private citizen where you actually do get to have that second voice and voice something that maybe isn't a push directly from this council to that commission. And I think that's very valuable. And the fact that the commissioners are listening, they're gonna ask for the people that have been working in these entities and these groups and for their opinions, because they're the boots on the ground technically.
What's the timing on when they're gonna be forming the code?
That's gonna happen probably once a facilitator is selected. So I think it's gonna kind of comprise of basically most of the folks that are on it right now. When that's gonna be defined, I personally want input from the facilitator because they've done this before. And once that happens, I think we're looking at probably January when everything's in place, when we hire that contractor, when they have the opportunity to come and hopefully speak in front of this group. It's all going to be transparent. So I'm going to be really relaying information to all the folks that are involved in the council. It's going to be very known through the process of what's happening. So hoping in January it's going to be solidified. The contractor will be on, the core team will be identified, and then we're going to start pushing the ball.
So, if I'm not mistaken, we're updating, as you said, the CWPP, right? So that means that we actually really need to be more familiar with the one that's in place right now.
I encourage it.
Is that right?
Very much so.
So we need to look at that piece by piece.
Look
and
at-
say, what would we?
Look at that one, look at Missoula's, look at Lincoln County, look at some
Where
of
do we get
the,
it?
on the DNRC website.
Yeah, so Google you just Google Bitterroot CWPP, and the DNRC has a webpage that has actually every CWPP for every county.
So it's just Bitterroot CWPP.
Yep, just Google that. It's faster than honestly trying to find it on the DNRC website. Our website has a link to it, doesn't it? Or,
The old one, yeah. So there's a whole
Yeah.
CWPP tab on the fireandtheroot.org site that you can go to, and it
Yeah.
has the upgraded.
You never
different
been-
So both the old ones,
Yeah.
the one that's actually in place and the 2016 one.
Yeah.
which for a while, and it might still be the same, the DNRC site actually had the 2009 CWPP on it. I did bring it to their attention. So do check the date, because if on DNRC, they put the 2009. That is not the edition that we're under because it was not signed.
Oh, is that
So,
right?
yeah, so look at both, because they still have that, like Byron did a lot of work on that 2009, a lot of good information in it. So look at the 2006 one, that is the one that we are under right now.
Okay,
Um,
that helps, that,
yeah,
yeah.
and those are available. I usually carry a copy, believe it or not, in my bag, but I don't tonight. So, if you cannot find it or want to see a hard copy at the next meeting, I will.
Byron.
Yeah, Byron has like, probably have it bound, right?
I've got several copies.
So, yeah, on Byron, he's got originals.
So just a quick, bit of information, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but when you go through a process like the CWPP and you start grabbing input, whether it's from the public or it's from the council or anybody, there has to be, the core team has to review and analyze those comments. And they're gonna analyze them to see what comments do they need to explore more into. And maybe get a hold of some person that made that comment and get more information. And so the core group is the one that analyzes those comments. And they decide, they're the decision makers. They decide which ones have merit and which ones do not. And the ones that have merit, they're gonna go out and they're gonna get more information. And that'll eventually probably go into the CWPP. So we have to trust the council, the group of people that's responsible for this, to go through that process and determine what is of merit and what is not.
Or even have our stuff together when we write our comments.
Yes,
Yeah, I said that very close.
yes.
Thanks.
All right. We're going to move on. So on to outreach and education update from Miss Judy.
Okay, a few weeks ago, there was a demonstration wildfire risk home assessment, 2 of them at my home. Frank and I went out in our neighborhood up Canyon Creek, Logic Camp, Wyatt Lane, went to 130 houses. Anna helped a little bit towards the end when Frank ran out of gas.
I had to leave town,
Anyway, out of 130 homes that received an invitation, and many people were home, so it took longer than I expected, because if they were home, they wanted to talk about it. There was really good response in terms of what they voiced about, oh, this is such a great idea, yeah, I'm gonna sign up. A lot of them did not follow up. We had 13 families that did out of 130, which was a little disappointing to me because that was a lot of hours. But I guess most marketing campaigns don't do any better, and most
that's
do worse.
Most do 2 to 5%, so you do
Yeah.
really well with 10.
Yeah.
That was
Good, good.
So it was very well received. We we did a mock home assessment around my home that's already been done, and talked about how to answer each of the questions on the survey. And we gave them a survey, a blank one, to take home and walk around their own home and do their own assessment. And several of those people got a little mixed up about the slope, percentage of slope and things like that. So we had several out of the 13 that said, okay, this is nice, but I need a professional to come to my house too. So some of them really effectively went through it twice. So I guess that's success on some level. We also had a booth at Apple Days this last Saturday, and we were trying to get people to sign up for home assessments, and we got 7 new ones. And I'm learning a lot of these people are new to the valley or fairly new to the valley. Some came from California and know about all the risks. Some of them have lost homes or know people who have lost homes to fire. So we're getting attention. We have more assessments to do. And then the third item is we had signs out on all of the roads going west that were one way in, one way out. That was a free home assessment sign. It had a QR code. People could go to that and sign up for an assessment. We got a lot of them, I think, from that. I'm not sure what the distinction is between that and Facebook and other places. But unfortunately, we have to take all those signs down because we were not aware of the zone from the middle of the street out 30 feet is a zone that we are not supposed, it's a right of way and we're not supposed to put signs there. As our. So we're picking them all up, and if they didn't take them already, they did pull a bunch of signs, so I had to go dig them out of the trash over at the county department. Along with a lot of realtor signs and some political signs. They're trying to keep everybody off the road, although we weren't on the road, but it wasn't far enough. It wasn't 30 feet off the center. So I'm picking those up, and I'll be calling, I'll be going to the Montana Cadastral to look for landowner contact information. I know I won't get phone numbers, but I'll get mailing addresses, and over the next few months, we'll ask permission to put our signs on their property, which will be further away from the road. And we'll put them back up in the spring. There's no point in putting them up now because the snow plows will be going before too long enough.
Judy,
Yes,
so you want to put those on some of our fuel project properties?
we would love to, but it seems like it makes more sense to put it in areas that are at high risk. So if those are at high risk
Well,
areas.
there's a lot of fuel projects that have occurred in high-risk areas and the neighbors have been in.
Yeah, anywhere like that, we would definitely like to do that.
And Byron, we have 2 sets of signs. So one is the risk assessment with the QR code, and then the other is I've done fuels mitigation work on my property,
Can I
which,
get those from you?
yeah, so I just gave them to Victor Fire. They should be here somewhere, John.
John has it in his house.
John McKenna has them. I'll get some for you.
Okay. Okay, man.
Maybe you saw this, Anna, but I would even, maybe in the spring, if you want to like focus drainage by drainage or something, we can offer up some of our signs.
So we have to, yes, we've done that up in Missoula and we've been swamped.
Yeah.
So what, yeah.
It's an option for you.
No, I think what we could do is if we could, like, we just need to organize ahead of it. Yeah, it's awesome because we did 100 assessments in a day. But we also like ran ourselves ragged and didn't quite have the capacity we needed. So I think that'd be awesome. And let's plan it and let's try to recruit the fire departments in our target zone. You know, maybe we do it in Victor since we have a lot of participation. Maybe if you and I can provide some send boots on the ground if they're not burning, like that is definitely would be a great idea. And it gets noticed.
Just something we can.
Yeah.
And just so folks know here, we've had a total of 71 assessments to date this year. And last year, in the last 3 years, we've had 30 total.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
definitely getting a lot of interest there and getting a lot more done.
And we're tracking too, because Judy's checking, she's calling on, reaching out to those who have had assessments done in the past to see if they did any work on it, because honestly, if we're doing these assessments, it's wonderful one-on-one and information exchange, but if no action is being done, no risk is being reduced, right? So like reaching out on these and seeing if work has been done is actually really critical to that evaluation and or is it working? So, yeah, that's pretty critical
I
too.
knew Rich would be happy we're doing that. We're collecting data.
Yeah.
You go, girl.
Or she's just doing awesome.
We
All
get
right.
enough with training
Go ahead,
more
Al.
network to do all our job.
Are we going to be making up a list or some format to reassure these people if they want to hire it done, if there's a list of certified contractors, more than one?
We have a list that
Oh,
we
yeah.
are giving out. We
Okay.
gave a lot of them out at Apple Days. We give them out wherever we do an event. We give them out at every home
Because
assessment.
scammers run rampant everywhere.
Yeah.
And so to ensure that people don't get ripped off, you know, if we had a list of certified,
Yeah.
verified.
Well,
In our
and
packet, in the packet we give them, there's a list of contractors.
Yeah.
It's also online.
Ones that we kind of
Yeah. But we do, like, I do, and I'm pretty sure Anna does and hers too. We push also Byron, Andrew, Thayer, and Stacy, we push our fuels mitigation specialists as that next step to contact even before a contractor, so that they're getting kind of a liaison that knows and can advise them a little bit more about that next step, because I know I'm not qualified to tell them, especially on a large expansive acreage, what trees to take, what not, what they want to do. And so that's what I push in a home assessment.
People could be just
All through.
overwhelmed on 2 acres.
Right, yes, so,
But Byron had a big list and we actually compiled his list with NRCS and DNRC. So it's been vetted. It says right on there, they're all.
yeah.
And our list has it divided into 2 parts. One is the logger types, they have a lot of equipment. And the other part is hand crew type. They do pre-commercial stuff. So they don't market wood. The logger type do. So our list has probably 15 logger types and 10 hand crew types on it. We provide that to landowners, and then we also go out for, we do a bid solicitation for a landowner. And then go over the bid with the landowner and get it open. So
All right, do we have a fuels update? Byron, maybe?
Okay,
I'll start calling out that group.
being that was last meeting, I'll go first this meeting. So, anyway, RCND is really in the throes of doing a lot of projects right now. In Ravalli County, we probably have 30 projects that we either done or are ongoing. The landowners have agreements, they have contractors to do the work. And those 30 landowners, probably around 300 acres, so it's an average of 10 acres at a whack. Some of them are larger, we've got one that's 40 acres, and then quite a few 5-acre ones. But they're all in high-risk areas, targeting those areas of focused attention from the Forest Action Plan, the DNRC did. So that's where we're at, and we're running fairly low on grant funding right now. But it's interesting starting, even after the fire season in September, and even in now, the first 4 days of October, we've had a lot of applications coming in. Winter and next spring for next fire season. We probably got a total of 25 applicants right now in Valley County that haven't, probably won't be able to get to with the funding we have, for a total of 800 acres. So we're applying for the Forest Action Plan grant for Valley County because we can't apply under the Community Wildfire Defense Grant because we don't have an updated CWPP. We're applying for the Forest Action Plan grant for Valley County, and Ashley Duran, grant coordinator for DNRC, told me that the application is due, I think, November 6th. That seemed right. And then they're gonna make a decision on who gets funding by the end of the year. And then we'll be ready to go next spring if we get that grant. So we're putting in for the max is 500,000, and I think we're putting in for around 440, something like that. Just to give you a comparison, every time we put in for Western States grants, the max is 300,000. So this will give us a little boost until we can put in for the Community Wildfire Defense Grant next year. So that's kind of where we're sitting right now in Valley County. And we do have an application process that is open year long. People can apply through the website, bidroot.org, and fill out an application, send it to us, and keep it on file until our funding ramps up, have funding. And then we go to those applications and we start working our way through those applications, depending on where they're at in those hydro and water. So.
Did you get an application yet for that 100 acres at the top of Wyatt Lane that I told you about?
Not yet.
Okay.
But we did some work for them a few years ago. Williamson did it. So I know who they are, and so I can contact them and see where they're at with that.
Yeah, because the 100 acres, additional acres they purchased is right up next to Forest Valley.
Yeah, and it protects a lot of other homes in that area. Okay. Olson?
Yeah. And Byron it was decided after last meetings that Byron is going to be lead of our fuels mitigation committee. And so they will be meeting quarterly, correct? Yes, and we decided quarterly. And so Byron will be reporting out after those quarterly meetings too, just on, a brief summary of those. So thanks to Byron for stepping into that. Oh.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
We are just coming off our fire season. Currently, we had a busy bit of activity there in September. All three districts had a lot of activity on west side here, Blodgett, Mill, Big Creek, Bear Creek, and Cooney all had fire in them. So it's been a long time, at least since 2017, since we've had no major fire in these west side canyons or west side faces. So there's that. Bog trough there, south of Shalcoho, winding down, and was pretty inactive most of the lots. Trail Ridge Fire, which is up on the line from the Red Deer Lodge National Forest. It's still there, it's still showing. It's not currently growing at this moment, but there's still potential for where that sits to add a little more growth on that. But it's been quiet this week since this last And all the fires that, there's about 15,000 acres total. A dozen fires out in the Idaho portion of the forest. Those really got walked with a fair amount of rain. 2 systems ago, and one more this last one, so those have been really quiet and not showing burning so. That's the wildfire update where we're sitting as of this second. We are currently waiting on some additional numbers to come down for us on the budget front, and what that's gonna look like for projects that we can hopefully take on here in fiscal year 23. Today, we just did our engagement on the forest to start to end our prescribed burn pause that the chief instituted back in May. And so we had that discussion. That's step one. And there's a few more hoops for us to get through our own process there, so we can get back into some prescribed burning hopefully this fall too. But that is started, and we're still got a week or 2 of work to do on that front, just in process wise, making sure our I's are dotted and T's are crossed. Engage back into that. We had success working with Drew on our shared project we had there. Drew got that accomplished. We're actually have a press event going out on, I think on the 18th of this month.
Sounds right.
We're gonna go take some pictures of that, and talk about that, and highlight the good work we did there with that partnership. So that's gonna happen then. And we're looking forward to what we're gonna try and take off for next year. That's
More 40, whatever it was, we just obligated, let's say.
Turkey. So we do have a project that came down late here with some additional funding that we weren't planning on, but we were in a position to take advantage of. That's in partnership with the National Wild Turkey Federation. It's $440,000 to on the west side.
I think it's scattered kind of from hanging up to Stephenville area, but I guess just a little bit. It's gonna be one of the first times where we obligated some funds from the Turkey Federation will be the implementers, kind of like the county did for the work that we did. So it was our fiscal year ends September, so it was some late funding coming late. So that's kind of some of the processes we're trying to set up here and work with partners, especially late year money that comes in where we wouldn't have time to implement projects. But have partners work with us. So it'll all be really within the area on the west side of the house. Down the middle. Yeah, we were doing it. Dave Tingley was the lead on it, and we were still really busy in fire season, so I actually didn't dive into the exact locations of the work. But again, historically, that would have been an entire year's budget for us in fuels that we were able to get obligated in a couple of weeks. So that's huge, way for us to operate going from.
I guess the last thing I'll mention is the crews did, all the districts and their crews were working really hard in summer, in addition to the fires that they were having to be getting layout done for fiscal year 23. So we're sitting primed to take advantage of that work, that layout for some additional, and we're slashing. So we can get that work done and eventually put fire back into the bulk of those. Really good. Not quite up on clean, I would say yet, so we're getting closer to where we want to be for just still waiting on some major decisions to come down regarding some pending projects east side of Butterfly. So pending at this point. But,
No, just, talking to CWPP earlier, that's gonna be instrumental in us being able to compete for funding moving forward. I mean, again, also CWPP and having our ducks in a row planning wise, ready for all that to come together. So I think the timing is gonna be real close here on everything with our decision documents, CWPP, and the funds that are being. And Byron says that Pat, you're on, we're all gonna kind of come together and think about it right time, so.
I don't have much on the field side. Matt kind of covered it. We completed the first, it was 130 acres allocated to the county. First of its kind with the Forest Service, like Matt said, and Mark said, they're doing kind of the same thing with Turkey. First kind of agreement, we got a pot of money to complete a 130 acre fuel reduction project. It was kind of a crunch in time. I wanted to get it done this year, and it all came together. We had one contractor put in for it, and we awarded it to him, and it turned out great. So we're just looking for more opportunities to get some projects done. So
Where is that?
it's up Chapman Creek, so just south of the trail.
One of the exciting things with the county agreement, we had some limitations with some match requirements that the agency had from partnering with someone, and the chief has removed most of those match, which would allow us to look at bigger opportunities with the county and other groups. So that was huge this summer with the chief and the Secretary of Ag working to remove those match requirements, which really limited, especially local government, from being able to work with us on a scale, size of scale. So that was really exciting. Being able to take advantage of that. So.
Thank Andrew for sending us quite a few languages over the past few months. And just to let you know, Nazareth, we have a contractor, and the contractor is going to start working here soon. Awesome. 25 acres of big.
Perfect. Well, absolutely. And that came from the forest. They just sent me out. So it's everybody coming together. That's the plan, right? So.
Speaking of which, we are gonna move on and pick up where we've sort of left off and hopefully get some resolution on what membership is gonna look like. But first, we're gonna take a visit of what the mission statement is, just to give everybody a reminder of the mission statement of Fire in the Rook Council. Can everybody see the slide pretty well and read it on your own, or would you like me to read it aloud? Okay. Everybody can see, so take a chance, read that mission statement, and then we'll continue on with our structure and membership discussion.
We good? Can I hit next slide?
Yes. All right, so we have our structure that we've been in discussion, it seems like, for probably at least the last 4 meetings, if not longer. And there has been obviously some good progress. So we do have our chair and our co-chair in place. We have our non-agency person. Judy was very willing, or maybe voluntold to jump in last meeting when we closed that, but she's doing a great job. And then we have Anna in as the interim from the agency side. So those are your co-chair structures. And then we also have our fuels mitigation team that's going to be led by Byron. We have our education and outreach team that's still to be determined, especially because the folks underneath that are pretty engaged elsewhere, especially with their co-chair duties. And then we have the risk assessment team, and that lead has not been determined yet as far as we know. And then we also have the CWPP team, which is being ran by Drew, and Drew will bring us more on probably what that will look like coming soon. So is everybody in agreement, good with the way that structure is outlined? Fantastic. All right, so here's the big question at hand. What does membership look like? And so the importance of defining membership is one, obviously you want to be able to make decisions in an effective and efficient manner. And then also defining what the council outreach and public knowledge, what that's gonna look like going forward as well, and whose charge that is, especially, you know, using logos, doing the things within this council. And, you know, having that right to go forward with that. So we had many responses to the surveys. We had some pretty good discussion about what that could be and what that could look like. So the ones that were kind of thrown up there is the number of meeting attendance. Is that a qualifier to be a member? Is there a set number quarterly? Is there a set, you know, you have to be here 12 meetings to be a part? Or is that gonna be participation in projects only? Or funding and sponsorship, leadership, or a collection of all of it? So with
Or
that.
other things.
Or other things, absolutely, Judy. And so I'm gonna open the floor up to see what folks' ideas, where we're sort of leaning. That membership, I mean, every group has some groups have different ways of what that membership can include and what it can look like. And I guess looking at it from the, based on that participation in projects and then looking at some of the other ones, I think meeting attendance is probably a really easy piece to, you know, kind of get your head wrapped around, because we can go back and look at the sign-in sheets and we can kind of determine, we already have a data point for that. A lot of boards work that way, and then they also have a clause in there that if you miss 3 meetings or, you know, things along those lines, then you're no longer a member. I mean, not necessarily that this group has to go that direction, but that is an easy data point that we actually have data for right now that can go back as far as to when the council was instituted. So I think they have, that data is there, so we could disseminate through that and see if you want to go forward with meeting attendance, or if there's other ideas of what that membership structure could look like to be a part of the council.
So the meetings would still be open to anyone who wanted to attend. What we're really looking at is who gets to vote for.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Very good point, yep. Yeah, this would be, so a member would have a decision-making say. And we have to go over decision-making too, like that's part of the next part, but yes, you need to ideally be a member.
Meeting attendance is physical or virtual.
Yeah, well, that's for you guys to decide, yeah.
With our board of directors, we have real board here locally, but we have set up on that is if you miss 3 meetings without an excuse, then basically it's that you take that as a resignation,
Is that 3 meetings in a year or consecutive?
3 in a year.
That's
Okay.
the board.
Hmm?
That's the board.
That's the board, that's a decision making
Right.
board for the Bitter Valley Board of Realtors.
That, are you guys 501c3 or?
No, we're at, I think 501c6.
Oh, okay. So that's actually specified by law that you have to have. There's certain bylaws and.
Part of it comes down to both national and state associations too that we're a member of also, but you get, if you're second, you miss a meeting, that's an excuse that.
Right.
If you just don't show up and not telling anybody on why you're not here, then that's what we consider that excuse, and 3 of those, and
I mean, and really, that's a quarter, you can miss a quarter, but you need to be here for 3 quarters. Now, for those who wanna be gone for a chunk of time, is that debilitating to you, or do you think,
Not if you
That-
can attend virtually.
yeah,
Like last time I couldn't make it,
right,
but I called in.
yeah,
I've made every other one.
and we do Like we purposely meet in this spot because we can provide that hybrid capability. Because we don't want it to be exclusive. We want to try and reach as much as we can. So, yeah. What do you guys
And I
think?
think that's something to consider also, as when you have that virtual participation, it is more inclusive. But there could be that virtual participant who just shows up for the meetings and doesn't help on the projects and some of the things
Right.
that need to go forward. And, you know, is there a component that needs, you know, in addition to meeting so many meetings quarterly, should you have to participate in one of the groups, in one of the, from the structure on, be a part of the team, you know, or serve, I mean, you could even look at it as far as like serving a term, you know, at least serve a 1-2 year term. You know, there's many, many ways to make what you want that membership to look like. Or is it just like you want everybody to come in, everybody gets a vote? I mean, there, you could certainly go that way, but based on what we did with the survey and where we've gotten to this point, the group really wants to have some sort of qualifiers to membership. So, and most boards, most councils, most other entities have a membership agreement, and that's why we're here, is to figure out, you know, how broad that membership agreement is, or maybe how tight that membership agreement is.
Maybe we could start the discussion from here on by eliminating some of those, for example, funding / sponsorship. I remember when that was discussed earlier. It was the Beirut Builders Association that recommended or said one way to go would be to have people have skin in the game. They sponsor with money. I really don't like that idea because it leaves some people out if it has to do with money. And it doesn't seem like it makes our mission statement very effective.
Doesn't create cohesion, for sure.
Yeah.
At all.
So I would like to hear if there's other people that feel the same way, or you think, no, I think it should be sponsorship, it should be funding. Can we eliminate that, or does somebody think, no, we should do that?
Yes, I agree. Should be in there. If you meet the criteria of attending meetings, participate as a sponsor, then yeah, that's fine. But just because you get money, doesn't.
So is the group willing to take off the funding sponsorship?
Would you do a straw vote? Get a sense of what people feel like.
I think we can just do a thumbs up of what is, if all of the group is willing to go over, you know, and eliminate funding and sponsorship, do a thumbs up. If you're undecided, you can do a medium, and if you want to keep it on there, you can do a thumbs down. All right. All right, unanimous across the group, so we will eliminate the funding sponsorship piece. What about the leadership piece? What is that? Is that just defining, you know, like with Judy stepping in as the co-chair, you know, like taking leadership of amongst the council, like being a team lead, that automatically puts you into that membership?
I would think so.
Yeah. I think that could be, well, and we could even make that part of participation, so it's
Right.
participation in projects or leadership on
Absolutely.
one of the teams.
Well, projects, and that would be teams also,
Right, yeah,
right?
yeah,
So,
oh, yeah, if you're
so
participating.
project / teams, and then leadership would count as
Yeah.
participation
Right.
in teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That, basically, that narrows it down to two things.
Right. Unless,
Attendance and participation. You show up and you do some.
yeah, is there other?
I'd like to just suggest a currency for measurement. And determining membership is hours. Hours spent,
Mhm.
hours spent coming to meetings, hours spent being in leadership, hours spent participating in projects, hours spent in whatever other bulleted items we wanna put this list in, but, you know, make it about hours. And there's one really good reason for doing this is that, you know, talking about cost share on grants.
Yeah.
That's cash money.
Mhm.
And so if you can say, look, so I'm writing a grant.
Yeah, 500 hours of volunteer time.
I have 50 members in the Fire and the Root Council. They have all committed, because they are members, to 20 hours a year, or whatever the number is. And that's money in the bank for writing grants. It's a simple thing to do. You just count the number of members, point to the bylaws, and the next paragraph in the grant.
Yeah, the meetings are constant, so that's easy.
Yeah.
Relatively constant.
There is the logistics of tracking it. Do we, like,
Yeah.
and reporting, like, who do you, because I could say, you know, I did 20 hours of work on the council, but like, how do
Meetings,
we,
we take attendance.
Yeah,
So
meetings we know.
in events, but like,
Simple enough.
teams and committees, would that be something that the
Seems like,
lead
yeah, the
would
lead would
track?
probably have to track.
Yeah, every time you have a committee meeting, you just
Right.
take attendance.
Yeah.
And
And if you have
And
a
the
project.
events,
to
like
track-
Judy was talking about, you know how long people were sitting at the table.
Yeah.
Applebee's.
Right,
And you don't have to get, you know, you don't have to
you're like
bring
a
out
member
your
for
quantum
3 years
computer and
already.
do the calculation.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Keeps
It
it
is,
simple.
yeah, it's a,
Then we can add
Good
things to
shares.
the list as we see fit. You know, new things come up. Oh, that's a membership thing. Put that on.
So is there consensus on putting that leadership up with the projects and teams, and we'll just do the same thing? Thumbs up if you're in agreement. All right, fantastic. So then, in looking at it at hours, does anybody have a minimum of what that should look like? To be a member, how many hours you should, I mean, I think you could probably add up really easily 1.5 hours times 12, basically for meetings. To get that minimum, but then is there gonna be a minimum as far as like projects? I know some projects are gonna be a little bit more extensive, but there should probably be a baseline of, you know, so many hours
I
project
suggest-
leadership.
I suggest 1 week, 40 hours. You want to be a member, you are committing 40 hours, 1 week per year. That you can get to 18 by showing up at the meetings and going through these exercises, which are important. Then, you know, then 20 or so hours after that, you know, projects. Tracking around, doing assessments, sitting at the booth at fair.
And is
1
that accumulation gonna be for the year, or do you get to vote even though you haven't met that requirement?
per year, you're a member for a year.
Hours would be the preceding year.
right,
Correct. Sort of, yes. So, I mean, again, I think it's a good way, but again, if someone, say someone came tonight for the first time, you know, they would have to accumulate that 40 hours before they could have that voting piece, or,
They want to be a member, they put their name, their address, their phone number, they sign it, they're signing that, they're committing to doing 40 hours a week for the next year.
40 hours a
40
year.
hours.
yes,
Yes. 40 hours. You say it really fast, if you say it really fast, you can get a lot of people in.
Are you
But-
first on the list?
Yeah, sure, I was on the list last year.
Well, and what if we make it retroactive though? And what if we go back to last January? And just started at January of 2021?
Well, I'm just talking about somebody walks in tonight. How
Right,
do they become a member? They become a member by we have forms, they put their name, their phone number, their address.
Like
They
the
sign
minutes.
that and they're saying that they're committed to 40 hours for the next year. And voila, you're a member. And we keep track of it through the next year. Everybody comes in, they sign that, and we don't worry about past or future, we're committed to it. We keep track of it. There's an accounting at the end of every year, and don't get too crazy about the accounting on it, and you know, you don't have to, come grade school, you don't have to be strict attendance.
What do you guys think? That not like, is that something?
I like the idea of hours, I think it's a wonderful idea, I'm gonna just throw something out so everybody knows. Okay, I'm a member of the volunteer fire department, state of Montana has laws for us, we have to have 30 hours a year to get our retirement.
For the training.
For the training hours. I'm thinking 40 is a little bit excessive for a council such as this, because we need a lot to get those 30 hours in.
Yeah, because not all training counts.
And we have members who don't even make it because of that. So I think 40 hours is way too much. I'm
30?
thinking more like 20 to 25. Because that would give you your 12 and a half, 15 for meetings if you did it every month.
Mhm.
And an extra 5 hours to put in for time.
Yeah, I agree.
And
And
that's the
because we have lots of events, but we also have events where, like, it's only 2 or 3 or 4 people that would staff it. We could do more events, but I do agree, I think. I would
Start
suggest like
out
20
with
to
like
25,
20,
yeah.
25,
Right.
and then if it keeps going and we start getting more and more members, we could maybe up it to 40 hours, but I think we should start a little bit lower. I think 40
Sure.
hours is rather, that's.
Yeah,
a
you
lot.
wanna start a little bit lower.
Yeah.
20, I think would be a little bit better.
I think so too.
Yeah.
So how many hours if you came to every meeting?
18.
So you only have 2 more hours
Well, actually,
for
we
a
don't need-
year?
Yeah, but
One
see,
month.
it makes it, because most, like, not everybody's going to go to every meeting, but it ensures that they at least do some extra meeting participation.
That they can't just join virtually either,
Right,
because they won't attain that.
yeah,
That extra
two.
2 to
Yeah.
3, 4 hours, yeah.
well, we could do like the 25, so it's more,
So I think it's
around
really
the
important
20,
to consider KISS. Keep it simple, sweetheart.
yeah.
Also, all the agency, I mean, how, all the agency people are gonna do your work hours that you put into this, and which, you know, would add hours, like Byron would score. Yeah, easily over 20 hours without even thinking.
Oh, I
because-
see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, or, you know. the
Because his
time
job
that he
is like what the council does, is that kind of what you're saying?
Well,
you know?
yeah, I mean, it's a big contribution to the council, but it's also his job.
Right,
Or for Drew, I mean, for 90% of the people here, they're gonna get 30 hours a year without thinking about it
But as a decision maker, we won't be voting anyway, so
at all.
I can't vote as Forest Service.
Yeah, I'm not a member.
So that means Judy, you're a lander, there's 4 of us who can vote.
no, yeah, I
Sorry.
mean, so, the agencies, I feel we are members, and we should be members, but we're
It's official.
non-voting members,
Your
yeah,
state and federal agencies are, your state, federal.
yes,
Your volunteer firemen
So
are.
you can vote.
yeah,
I mean, it's just, I'm trying to sort
Yeah.
through who's impacted, because certainly you're putting in 20 hours a week without.
right, but
That
we're
doesn't matter.
also, like, we're advisory members no matter what, like, we should be, we.
Yeah, I mean, your
Yes,
agencies are
and
impacted,
so,
and I'm not
yeah.
arguing, I'm just trying to figure out.
They're paid also. Remember
Yeah,
that,
right,
they're
I know.
getting paid,
Yeah.
we're not. No, you're not.
I mean,
Let's get it down.
it shouldn't be a bar computer.
I know, Kimberly's not, but we all are like, yes, we get paid, but I have kiddos that I'm leaving. You know, I have
No, I mean, I'm
concerts
just
that
trying
I'm
to see
missing,
what-
Of course,
so
they're having a
it
big
is,
party at
it's
home
not,
right now.
not a sacrifice. for us to do this. So just putting that out there.
Well, maybe that's why less hours makes more sense too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if there's not a lot, I mean,
No, not anything.
Go ahead, Barry.
So just a quick question, so if we settle on 25 hours, let's say. So what is the participation of projects and leadership? What qualifies as a project?
Yeah.
Up to the council.
Yeah.
Is that just things that the council is doing? Or is that going to the fair and participating at a booth?
As a council representative,
Yeah.
I would think it would be something where it is, you are a representative of the council and the council has decided they're participating in that. Cause like, when we help out with the fair, there's a Forest Service representative, there is a Fire in the Root representative. Like it's, Anna is very specific that you're representing the council.
Okay.
So that's what I would
So-
think.
And based, I think on the team structure too, Byron, I think that is the way that was envisioned, is that team, say, we'll just use Judy's team, you know, the outreach team, like if she has a project, we're gonna put signs up at the grocery store. It would be, you know, in that time, that allotted time frame that, you know, that team gets to speak to the council saying, hey, this is what we're gonna do, and then those voting members could determine whether or not that's that accepted project, and so you could put that terminology in there as accepted project hours.
So just a couple of examples. Home assessment. Okay, that's actually a part of this council. So, any time you spend doing home assessment, should count. Right, but in my job that I get paid for, when I go and talk to a landowner and set up a project, that is not part of the council.
Right.
The way I see it. Because that's just part of the RCMD work.
Right.
Any of us that are doing that, in terms of our work. Even though we are representing the council, and should not count.
I wouldn't think so unless you are talking about the council.
Okay, I'll
Like
do
if,
that.
if you are. I mean, that's just my input, like this, but that's, I would say if you are, if you're handing out a Fire in the Root brochure and you're saying, I am part of this council. And this is what we do, and we would love your input, come to our meetings, it's once that, you know, that I would think that's okay. You know,
So another,
that's-
unfortunately, you're not a voting member. Another example might be the preparation of the grant.
Yeah.
So it was,
Right.
Byron participated in the grant preparation, but
Yeah.
not as part of your RCND employment, right?
Right.
Or was it?
Yes, it was, but we got money
Okay,
to support
so,
that.
okay, so it wouldn't count for you or the Forest Service or state people that were, or county people that were participating in it. But those of us who weren't getting paid, it would count,
Yeah.
okay?
That was my point, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're
Go
splitting
ahead, Al.
hairs.
I think we're splitting hairs.
If you're talking about Fire in the Root, or how to prevent fires, or educating people by handing out brochures, whether you're paid or not, it counts, in my opinion. I think that's just going way off the deep end to say this does or this doesn't.
Well, I
So
like
is-
the wording of accepted projects, and I think we can all agree what we've been talking about are accepted projects.
Yeah.
So we're down to 15 minutes left.
Does membership on a team count?
Yes.
I would think so. Well,
It's all
yeah,
about hours, just.
Right.
No, but I mean, the hours spent, you know, team meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
But now you gotta convince someone they want you on the team.
right. Well, and you just gotta show up. You can't just be on a team but not show up to those meetings, because you're not
Yeah.
then getting those hours, but yeah. I mean,
So is there a baseline? Are we thinking 20 hours or are we thinking 25?
25?
Two, how about split?
So we've had 25, 20, 22. So we'll go around with the thumbs ups and we'll start with 20. All right, what about 22? All right, and then any higher, 28? All right, so it looks
25
like
is the
20 is that number.
I didn't hear 25.
Oh, and sorry, Judy, and anybody for 25? All right, so 20 it is.
People can put in more hours.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
the goal is people put in
Yeah,
more minutes, yeah.
Yep, and is there anything else that the group is thinking that maybe might be in addition to that membership piece? Is there anything that's just burning in someone's?
I have a question. Should we consider limiting the number of people on the council?
When we get to
28.
100.
Well, I mean, some people will come and go like any board. You know, somebody's gonna serve for a year or 2 or 5 and say, yeah, I really can't do this anymore, or I don't wanna do it anymore, I'm gonna retire from everything. So maybe we need to say that 30 people might be enough. And if you wanna serve, we'll call you first if we have somebody that decides to retire from the council. I don't know, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
Yes, but the council isn't a board. Like they
No,
distinctly
But
didn't
we,
want
but
to
we
be.
kind of function that way, sort of.
Right, right.
And,
So,
I
yeah,
mean,
that's-
What happens if 100 people show up? Well, first of all, even if this room was open, where are we gonna put them?
Yeah.
And I
If we
certainly.
have that many people show up there, that concern.
That's
about
why
fire
I'm-
mitigation,
Oh, yeah.
I would say, hallelujah.
Oh, I think that's great. I
That's a
think,
good
I
problem
think,
to have.
Goal.
and the more would be the better, but we don't need all of them on the council. Is what I'm saying.
You know, if we could get 100 people to show up and sign up and be members and commit to doing 20 hours of effort on fire mitigation in the Bitterroot every year, I'm all for it. If we
Yeah,
get,
but
we
I'm-
get 200 people to show up and say that they're gonna do 20 hours a year, then that's twice as good.
Well,
I think maybe we should just wait and see how it goes.
Let's
Sure.
cross
I
that
think
bridge
that-
if we get there.
Yeah.
but the reason I said that is not because I'm afraid of having too many people, but do we want a collective board of 100 people trying to make decisions when we can hardly do it with 22, 25?
Well, and ideally at that point, we probably will have a board. And we will probably be working towards being a nonprofit. And so we would have a council and a smaller board, and that board would have.
That answers my question.
Yeah, 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 so that's,
So basically, in a way, you're foreseeing two kinds of membership.
Yes.
One is
Yeah.
we have a membership, we send them a newsletter,
general
whatever,
membership.
and then we have a decision making.
Yes.
When we got it.
Because like I said, I think 100 or 200 is great, but
Yeah.
We
No,
only
I
have
think-
10 minutes left and we still have other items on the agenda, so can we skip that one?
Well, except I think that you mentioned something that someone else had mentioned about accepting, was it project acceptance or?
Accepted project.
Accepted project.
Yeah, I mean, I think that somehow is a good phrase to have in there, so that people couldn't just come in and say, well, I put 60 flags around the valley and that's my project. Whatever.
So accepted projects and teams. And that covers the leadership of teams also.
Over 20 hours. Can't do it. Somebody like-
For a price. Yeah, well, you'll have to pay to donate your hours.
Well, that's for the funding and sponsorship.
Yes, well, and exactly, that's why I don't wanna do it. All right. So, if we can advance the slide, please.
I know I joined the.
Oh, that's that'll be for next meeting. We'll talk
Okay.
about.
Oh, there might not be.
All right. So, Miss Judy, what else did we need to visit about? So on decision-making with your voting process, so I mean, based on the membership fees, it sounds like all of the members would be able to get that vote. Are you gonna go with a consensus or a majority? What does that look like for the folks that get to vote?
Majority is a lot easier to deal with. Consensus is a great idea, but it takes a lot more trouble. And if we, now that we've defined what constitutes a member, that's a voting member, and a majority is a fairly simple process. So I would submit that majority on voting members on a particular motion.
That are present at the meeting.
Yeah, with the knowledge ahead of time, so we gotta have an agenda out, right?
Okay.
So if we have a decision to make, it has to be on the agenda.
Yeah.
So discussion and decision versus discussion.
Right. We have 30.
Let's see, we only get 8 at the meeting. Then that's it.
We're gonna have, is that it, or are we gonna have a quorum?
Whoever it is.
Yeah.
Majority of those in attendance.
I agree, I just wanted to throw that out.
Yeah, clarify.
Because otherwise you never get a quorum. And you say you just high center for forever.
So is everybody in agreement for a majority as opposed to a consensus?
Yes.
Thumbs up?
Majority in attendance.
Yep. Majority in attendance. Make that decision.
But there has to be definite notification. If there's going to be a
Right, it has to be on the agenda as a decision. It's pretty standard stuff.
Yeah, Professor.
All right.
Judy.
Told us hurry,
Did you want to discuss how you lose your membership status?
Yeah, like what if people aren't participating or fade out or, yeah.
So who's gonna be the cop that says, no, you don't get to vote tonight?
No, most people just stay away.
So if you become a member by agreeing to do something. You don't do it, then you're not a member.
You're not an
At
active
the end of
member. You
the,
can
at the end
still
of the
come to
year,
meetings.
yeah, you can
But
come to
you're
the
not an
meeting, but you're
active-
not a voting member.
And I think part of that's just addressed by doing it by majority consensus, so one person can't really drive you astray. Right, if you have a majority.
Yeah.
And we could have a roster that's already readily available, who's a member. So you don't have a lot of squabble, just, and they're the ones who get to vote, and you say, that so and so and so who's here, would like to vote on this. And have a vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, and other people can witness the vote, but they don't have the opportunity.
Did we establish that, yes, we want to do the contract, where people sign the agreement to be a member? Do you want that?
Yeah.
I'm not saying yes or
The
no,
only
I'm
way to be
Yeah.
able to even track who
I
is
get that
there,
commitment.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Otherwise, it's retroactive.
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
A lot of bookkeeping. Now, still have to do bookkeeping to see who's
Right.
still in at the end of the year.
That's why when you come in, you need to sign your name on the attendance sheet.
Yep.
We're keeping them, we're tracking.
Yeah. And I assume that's done by somebody for the virtual attendance.
Yeah, and they're all recorded, other than when
Right.
we lose power, but yeah.
Yeah, last, the only virtual meeting that I went to was a little tough.
Could you get most of it over the phone?
I could hear most of it. But not everybody. But most of it.
all right, any Other comments?
Maybe we should circulate, I mean, the idea that there is a roster should be attached. So if we think we should be, or we think we shouldn't be, we at least know where we stood. And it was a list of who are voting members.
Well, yeah, we'll need to do the contract.
Yeah, I
though,
think
right?
Right, we
everybody,
need
yeah,
to-
Yeah,
would
We
be-
need that agreement.
right.
So that
agreement
everybody,
signed.
and whoever signs it,
You're
they're
a
on the
member.
roster.
So it starts now, essentially. And if you sign it, you're a member, right? That was.
Yeah.
So we're not gonna worry about what's
Mhm.
happened in the past at all.
No.
Yes. And the next, between now and next November, you have to do, yeah.
Yes.
I think you should have a contract.
Otherwise, going
For a
back
year,
now, figure out
that's how it is, December, and you haven't met that, and then grant, you're welcome to attend the meeting. That makes you lose your voting rights. You have it, because you know, you're guaranteeing that you'll be an active member, to keep that voting right. The next year, you'll lose that right.
Alright, that's, did you guys hear what Jess said? That's a good.
Well,
or-
there's
or
so many
suggestion.
rules in here on March. Wants to join the,
They can join, but they're still gonna have to maintain that 20 hours by December. It's not because
What
you're
if they
gonna have so
join in
many
December?
staggered.
what if they join in December?
You make points, so if they can get 20 hours in before the first of the year, otherwise you're gonna be chasing contracts every month.
That's it, yeah, logistically, it's,
I guess what I'm getting at is to keep it simple. And somebody shows up, they wanna be a member. They sign on for 20 years over the next year. This organization is gonna be going on for 20 or 30 years. And, you know, people are gonna be coming and going. And, you know, if we, just say, okay, we only take membership in January. Then,
You can take it throughout the entire year, you're just guaranteeing that if you wanna join in July, you have 6 months to get your 20 hours. Because otherwise you're not gonna be able, every month you're gonna have to sit down and audit all of your records to see who's doing it. So
I'm
just one-
suggesting that we just don't bother auditing the records. If people sign up, just count the number of people who have signed up. Keep track of it during the year. We'll know pretty simply. who's meeting and
You'll
doing
know
it.
soon whether they're gonna participate.
But under that mentality, if I want a project done, I can have 20 of my friends show up, sign contracts, and get one thing passed in one night.
Who would do that?
You would be
There's a million-
surprised.
We would be
You would be
surprised.
certainly surprised.
There's 2 to the 300 bits in the universe, and so there's a million different things that could happen. Because there are 2 to 300 things can happen.
I can guarantee you, I could fill this building with people if I wanted a specific project. And if, once there's money attached to it, if there's millions of dollars attached to this committee, and for future projects, you can have people do whatever they want.
And I think that's a valid point, because those of us that have sit in agency positions, I mean, I have a whole bunch of friends that come in on the county side, but they're not coming in as Andrew, as an ex officio person, and they come here and stack the deck, and we have, $1 million grant sitting here, and they stack the deck for the county side. Woo, county wins, sorry, everybody else. I mean, and that's, I think the reality of pushing it once it gets to the board status and there's actual big dollars, like I think right now, that's a bridge that we can get to, and cross that point, because basically, since I've been here, it's been the same faces, the same folks, and so is that gonna change?
I'm just suggesting for now, it's unlikely that somebody's gonna come in here with a scheme to take over Judy's job of dumpster diving for signs at the county yard. It's just, I mean, we're doing pretty simple things right.
Right, but I think also that's valid to also consider that the relevancy of this group, especially being pulled in from the county to do, multi-million-dollar projects, like there is going to be that capacity at some point, and so that is something Where if that's known right from the get-go that this group isn't gonna go that way,
Right.
then it sort of eliminates anybody even attempting to try that.
So we just gonna start membership this coming January?
So how would it be a compromise to say, evaluate quarterly? So that someone, if someone comes in the first quarter of the year, then they only, they maybe have fewer hours that they need to do between now and the end of the year.
Prorated.
Right.
Yeah, something like,
Yeah, I can.
Well, the simplicity, if they start in if they come in say November or December, they're probably gonna, they wanna be a member, they're not a voting member until January.
Right.
And then they have their full year to get their 20 hours.
Right.
The simplicity
Yeah,
you're
that
talking
would-
about
that'd be-
is January to December, not
Yeah.
October, November, September.
Right.
That's really hard for anybody to track, and that no one's probably gonna be able to do that, so. If you come in at 80 a year, come in February, you might wanna be a voting member, because you still have most of the year, your 20 hours. But that sounds
And it
easier.
streamlines it.
Right.
I'd like that.
Arlene was saying that for the public employees retirement system for volunteer firefighters, it's 30 or 32 hours, and it, if you come in, it's a fiscal year for the state, so it's in July. And if you came in June, you could get the 32 hours, but you'd have to do a lot of work to get in that number of hours. But you could, and you could also join in August and have most of the year to do it. And it's just wherever it is on July 1st, that's whoever tips the scale is in and the other ones are not.
So we either need to make a decision now or carry this over because we are ending the meeting.
Yep.
So what do we wanna do?
Yeah, let's vote on that, shall we? So is the group in agreement to have a standardized membership date and that deadline starting, membership starts in January and you have up till December to get your 20 hours? In favor of that? Signify by a thumbs up.
I'd like to suggest that we make it November so that next meeting, we can all become members.
Yeah, and
Or this could be the exception year.
We're all members anyway right now.
Well, not all of us, according to this. Not all of us in the room have enough attendance hours.
You get a check from the government, you're not a member.
We were starting.
Which government?
so yes on a standardization, what
Yes.
do you want the standardization dates to be? Do you want that to start in November? And then end in October?
Yeah, it'd be easier to do it.
The first
January, and we'll just keep operating the way we're operating right now until then, unless
That's
something
a short
quirky
spot
happens.
between now and then.
Yeah,
Everybody in agreement with that, January, to December?
Yeah.
Signify by thumbs up. You got it.
it'll be okay. We'll make
I-
it work.
I couldn't be more in.
All
Unless I
right,
was
so
asleep.
the last thing we have on the agenda is, and not really an
It's not
agenda
on the
piece,
agenda.
it's
The
actually,
meeting is concluded
Yeah.
now, and there's a 4-minute time slot for something that I should have said no to, because it's not fire and root business. But we agreed to it because we were caught off guard, so we have a 4-minute presentation. I assume you guys are doing that.
Yes.
and with that, with Judy's comment, you don't have to stay if you do not choose to stay, since the meeting is technically over. But if you would like to stay, there's going to be a